Insurance agents from around the world, you are listening and watching the Insurance Guys Podcast, powered by Glovebox. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome my friend, Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I'm great, Scott. However, you changed your intro, so explain to everybody why you said listening and watching.
Brandon told me to.
No, the actual reason.
Oh, because we are live. We'll won't be watching it live when it comes out, I guess, but we are on YouTube and video format, which I wanted 4 or 5 years ago to start doing, and because of this, that, and the other, we just couldn't do it. And
it's hard.
It is hard.
To do it, if we did it, I wanted to do it right, and
Correct.
doing it right, in case you guys are wondering. Brandon, how much does that camera cost? So we've got about $8,000 worth of cameras and no telling how many other thousand for us to do it right.
Right.
So, but we are focusing on YouTube now. If you guys want to be in the studio,
Right.
just search the Insurance Guys Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe. We may do something cool for you if you subscribe.
That would be cool.
And
Pick one
ring the
lucky
bell.
guest and send them $10,000 cash.
Maybe not that, but we might send 10,000 Kohl's bucks.
Send them a can of WD-40 silicone spray. Make sure you add that silicone to the end of that.
I've got an idea. Jason Cass will send them $10,000.
That is the
best
best idea you've ever come up with.
Yeah. If you subscribe to our podcast and ring the bell, Jason Cass will send you $10,000. But no, please subscribe. We put a lot of effort into it, and we would actually appreciate any comments or feedback on how we can make it better. So.
Absolutely. Guys, the mission of this podcast each and every week is to move the ball one step forward to greatness for you guys so that you can live the life that Bradley Flowers and Scott Howell know for a 1,000% fact that you deserve to live. That is the mission of this podcast. And the only reason we exist is to help you agents each and every week. Now, before we get started, I have a rock star guest on today. He is a less than scratch agent, which are my favorite people to interview on this podcast because I know that they are working their ass off every single day to get to that 5-year mark, and then the ball starts going downhill instead of uphill. So I want to bring him on and introduce him in just a minute. But before I do, he was a professional basketball player. He was a collegiate Division I athlete and basketball player, and I have a hilarious story to tell Bradley.
Okay. You teased these stories.
I know.
And you kind of held back a little bit.
So 2 weeks ago, Clinton Orr and I are at a investor real estate conference in Phoenix, Arizona.
Busy.
Our hotel is 2 blocks from the Suns arena where they play. He is in the conference talking to one of the investors who starts telling him that Sunday, this is Thursday, Sunday, he is going to go to the Phoenix Suns Denver Nuggets game. Clint comes to me on Sunday morning and he says, Scott, we need to go to this Phoenix Suns Denver Nuggets game tonight. Let's jump on StubHub and get some tickets. Well, it was about 10:30 or 11 in the morning, and we were about to go grab some lunch and watch a little NFL football. And I said, I'll tell you what, because we kind of kept going back and forth about it. And I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's eat lunch and marinate on this for a minute. And if we still want to do it this afternoon, we'll jump on StubHub, get some really good tickets, and we'll go to the game tonight. 2 blocks from our hotel. In the meantime, sometime between 11 a.m. and when we were going to do this, Clint runs into the guy that was talking about going to the game that night, and Clint says, hey, Scott and I are thinking about getting on StubHub and getting some tickets for this Denver Nuggets. Phoenix Suns. It was the Clippers, Los Angeles Clippers.
It turns out it was open tryouts.
Oh, what list? It gets better. And the guy kind of looks at him funny and he goes, well, actually, I'm leaving right now. I'm in the lobby to catch an Uber to go to my private plane. I'm going to the game in L.A. tonight. We were about to spend $500 or $600 on NBA tickets for a game that was 560 miles away in Los Angeles.
What would you have done?
I don't know.
You should have. If it was his plane, you should have asked to go with him.
No, how we get back?
I don't know. I would have figured it out.
No, I'm not asking somebody that I don't really know to get on their damn plane. I'm not doing that.
If he was cool, and I know he wasn't cool, if he was cool, he'd have been like,
"Come on,
hop on,
come on." It was probably a 4-seat Cessna, and I'd have been back in the luggage, laying down in the luggage in the back of it or something.
By the way, on a podcast about 6 or 8 weeks ago, I talked about my two buddies that were buying a Cessna.
Right.
They just bought a much nicer. Not a private jet, but like
close,
pretty close.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to go in with them, and I did consider it because they were financing it, so it wouldn't have been a ton of big chunk of money up front. But I did not. So I almost bought a plane last week.
I'm sure Laurel would have loved that.
She was not. She was against it. She was not for it, and the decision had to be made like.
Right then.
Yesterday. Yeah.
I need $75,000 tomorrow.
No, it wouldn't have been any. It would have been. I think the down payment was $10K. It was like a $300,000 plane. But it was three. It was three guys, and I don't have plane money, but it was three guys.
So he
says. It was three guys, and one guy backed out basically. But I just you only hear about small planes crashing. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about jets and I'm like, man, I would rather be inconvenienced at the airport than die early.
I don't disagree with you. I'm telling you right now, for all of you insurance agents listening out there that travel a pretty good bit, that damn Delta Lounge is a game changer.
Oh my gosh,
that is a game changer.
Shout out to Wesley Anderson. Wesley Anderson took me to the Delta Lounge for my first time a couple months ago.
If you go, you'll always go. You'll because if you get that American Express Platinum card,
you go for free.
You go for free.
Well, it's kind of like first class too. When you fly first class, the hardest plane ride of your life is the flight after you fly first class for the first time and you're in coach, and you got to walk to the back of the plane and sit by the bathroom.
Right.
And you're like, gosh, so much better up there.
If the number of insurance conferences continue to grow that will not allow Scott Howell to attend their conference because he's pissed them off so much, I may not have to worry about it. The only conference I may be going to is the one on Pine Ridge Road right behind our house, because that's about where we are with that.
One City World Tour.
God, that's hilarious. I'm sorry. I'm about to die. Guys, we have an all-star guest today. And I want to give him the introduction that he's always deserved. And there is no person on this planet that I enjoy talking to more on this podcast than guys that are in the foxhole right now trying to build a business. Let me I have been exactly where you sit today. I know what it's like. I know how much work it is. I know how frustrating it is. I know what you're going through. I know that there are days when you probably wake up and you think, my God, is this ever going to get better? It will get better, I promise. It is like everything else in life, though. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? That's right. So without further ado, I want to give him the introduction that he has always deserved. He is originally from Georgetown, Kentucky, and he currently resides in Lexington, Kentucky. He is married to the beautiful Brittany, and they have one beautiful baby, Cameron. He is a graduate of Marshall University in Business Management, where he also was a 4-year letterman for Marshall University. And then he also graduated from Dublin Business School with an MBA in marketing while playing professional basketball in Dublin, Ireland. After his playing career ended, he started working at a staffing agency where he was fortunate to learn a lot about the working world and met his wife. I guess it's fiance. My apologies.
Now wife.
Okay, now wife. My apologies.
He held his ring up for us
to
see it. If you subscribed on YouTube, you would see that.
Exactly.
You know.
He entered into a sales role at Allstate during that time frame. and he started to enjoy insurance and helping people with finding better policies. His business mind started working, and he decided that he wanted to build a business and do it himself. So in 2021, he officially launched Integrity Insurance Group. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome. It is my profound honor today, truly profound honor today, to introduce first-time guest on the IGP, but it will not be his last, Mr. Tamron Manning. How are you, Tamron?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing the best, brother. I got a question for you.
Go ahead, man.
We both played college ball. I was a point guard. I'm assuming I don't see it on here. I'm guessing you're small forward. Is that right?
I played the point, man.
Did you play the point? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I played at Birmingham Southern. The starting point guard for Birmingham Southern when I was there was a young man by the name of Danny Cervic. Danny is the owner of Pro One Sports, and for some period of time had about half of Europe. He was their manager. He was their agent. I was going to see if you knew Danny or if you'd ever run across Pro One Sports while you were, I guess, negotiating contracts to play over in Dublin.
I know Pro One Sports, but I did not know the owner.
Okay.
It's actually a cool story. But yes, I do know how big Pro One Sports is in the Europe basketball community.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids that were over there. I think he's moved on now and is focused more on developing talent in the States and representing a lot of high-level high school players that are jockeying for position to get ACC scholarships, SEC scholarships, stuff like that. He's
NIL stuff. He's probably down.
Yeah, high school's the name.
Yeah.
High school's the pot right now. That's where you want to be.
That's it.
Can they do NIL deals in high school?
I don't
Yeah.
know why they couldn't.
Yeah.
So, Tamron, let's start from the start. This is two big old boys in a DeLorean right now. Go back in time. We graduate from Marshall. We've played 4 years of college ball. Kind of take us back to that being in Dublin, which, by the way, kudos to you from going over there and being a part of that culture for a time and getting to do something you love while you're over there too. But take us back in time of like when you started kind of figuring out this insurance thing and bring us up to today.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on here. What a great podcast you all have built. So I'm definitely honored to be on here. But to take you back to those days, man, I had no thoughts of what I was doing after basketball yet.
Sure.
I did get my MBA. That was kind of some after basketball kind of things.
Right.
But honestly, man, I was so basketball focused from the age of probably like 9 to 24,
Yep.
just so locked in on trying to get to the highest level possible. So I almost was like at a disservice because I didn't work at all. The only work I did was like basketball. So I'm training all summer and doing all this stuff, playing games during the season. So I didn't have that like real world work experience growing up. All I knew was just work hard on the court, get good grades, and everything else will take care of itself. So jumping into having to get a job and figure out what goes on in the real world, it was tough, man. It was really tough just figuring out my landing spot and where I would fit in because as you all know, playing sport yourself, the difference between like playing a sport and then like working for somebody and having a boss and having to do all these different things is very drastic.
Right.
As you all know. So I'm learning all this stuff and I'm figuring it out. And then I'm so blessed to land in insurance, man, because the parallels, which we'll talk about throughout the podcast, but the parallels of insurance and sports and just business and sports is so seamless, man. So I was so lucky to land in insurance. And here I am today, man, owning an insurance agency, trucking along.
There you go.
Year one going into year two. So it's been a whirlwind, man.
How much do you attribute your success to your playing days, and how often do you draw on experiences when you're in certain situations in the business world? This came up last week. I went to an advisory council meeting with a carrier, and it was me and two buddies, and we all kind of stuck together. We all realized at the end of the first day, we all three played college sports. I played golf, and those two played football, and my coach was like 85 years old. and I didn't have that real like motivational, and we were talking about like halftime speeches and pregame speeches, and I was talking about how I struggle sometimes motivating my team during like team meetings, so like giving them this real rah-rah speech. Because if you've ever heard me speak, I'm not a real rah-rah speaker. I'm very like, do this, do this, do this. Thank you guys. And I said I wished I played more football because I could draw from some of those. You know what I mean? So like how often do you go back to your playing days when you're trying to do certain things in the business world?
I would say every day, because the biggest thing is just the motivation to do something that you may not get immediate results from. So like with basketball, you do all this training and you do all this stuff, and especially once I graduated from college, I had no idea where I was going to land professionally. So I was doing a lot of training. I was getting up at like 6 a.m. on my own. I didn't have a coach at that time. So there was like a 4.5 month span where I didn't have a coach or anybody telling me I needed to go to the gym or I needed to work out. So I was working out I was almost working out harder without anybody coaching me or making me do it, just so I could get to the point of playing professionally. And when I got the opportunity, I was ready for the opportunity. I think that was the main thing. So I do that now, basically with stuff. And it's been a whirlwind with that kind of thing. So I would say that just the motivation you need to continue to do things when you don't see the immediate result from it, which insurance is like I guess the catalyst to that, because you may work on a policy that you don't get sold right away. It may take a couple weeks, or it may take a month, or you may get them.
Well, not only that, you really the money in this business is from the residuals, not the first year commission too. So it's a long tail. But it's like we talked about this off the air. Like there's a lot of really good producers and agency owners that are former college athletes. I mean, you look at like Jag Insurance. All three of those guys are former college athletes. I think Doug played football, and the other two guys played baseball.
Correct.
You played basketball. You played basketball. What do you think the reason for that is?
I think
you've thought about this.
I have, and Tamron's right. I think there's that work ethic part of that. They say that and I did not play professionally at the professional level, but they say, and I think Tamron's kind of just alluded to this. The hardest thing about moving from collegiate sports, does not matter the sport, to the professional ranks is when you get drafted by the Miami Dolphins, there ain't nobody telling you to get up. There's not an assistant coach or a GA knocking on your door going, hey, we got workouts in 15 minutes, buddy. You better be up.
Right.
And I think you see it time and time again with kids that move from college to the pros. We kind of talked about this with insurance agents at lunch today. They need that structure.
Yeah.
Some
people do.
They need Nick Saban to have his 3 GAs to make sure, everybody's we got the wide receiver meeting at 1:00 today, but you got to be in the weight room at 11:30 or 7 a.m.
I remember I had a friend that was some kind of assistant she was a student at Auburn in 2010, and her job was to make sure Cam Newton made it to class
100%.
So that he could stay eligible. He had a credit card type thing, or I guess it was student ID, and he would swipe his student ID on her thing, and that would let them know
correct
that he made it to class.
Let me tell you something. Cam Newton ain't the Lone Ranger.
No, I know.
I guarantee you there's a starting running back that's first-team All-American somewhere at Texas, Florida, Georgia, that they've got what they call a body man on him. Yeah. They say dragging his ass to class.
Is that why you think like Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf, that they graduate and then all of a sudden the discipline's not there because
they don't
through the whole time they had somebody telling them what to. I mean, Ryan
Sure.
Leaf talked about when he subbed in for Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen show, how instead of going to the combine, he decided to go to Vegas or something.
Right.
And it was very innocently, but it kind of escalated into all his partying and all that.
So my beautiful wife is with us here in the podcast studio today.
I love it when she's here.
I do too. It makes me very happy. So one year, Wyatt used to go to Nick Saban football camp every summer in July. At 5:30 a.m., all the players would meet out in front of the weight room, the Malmore Athletic Facility, and one of the strength coaches would come unlock the door. Now, when they would go in there to work out at 5:30 a.m., this is in July, you cannot imagine how loud that rap music was in that weight room. You can't imagine how loud it was. It was like
you had Scott Cochran there yelling at people.
It would damn shake every picture in that TV off this wall. But yes, Scott Cochran was still there, and one of Wyatt's I've never told this story before. One of Wyatt's little buddies that was on his flag football team at that camp, his brother was playing wide receiver at Alabama. When they got there one morning during camp, two of the starting players out front got to jawing back and forth and got in a fist fight.
Wow. Yeah.
And they got it broken up, but the kid's little brother had gone over there with him because his mom and daddy let him stay with brother, the wide receiver, at his apartment, right? So he saw all this.
That's not a great idea.
And buddy, they were upstairs in about 2 seconds. Now I don't know what happened after the fight broke out and then they got pulled apart and sent upstairs. I have no idea what happened, but I can imagine, and I think Tamron will probably agree with me, there was about 5 million stadium steps probably run after that.
Oh yeah, countless. And Bradley, to answer to go back to your previous question, I think it's about Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell. And there's countless others, but it's like a level of professionalism that like some people either they just like get it or they have to go through something and then they get it. But like you have to be able to the discipline that comes with it. Like he was saying, they're dragging you to class or they're making you do this stuff, and then you become a professional. And not only you become a professional, but you get a lot of money with becoming a professional. So you have to handle all these different things. Like I see like LeBron lifts weights after the game. And to me that's still really nuts to think about. And they're like
Dennis Rodman used to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so weird. But like you have to have that level of professionalism. And even the guys that aren't playing are so professional because they're like one game they may be called to play a lot. Like Ron Leaf, you might be called to play just like that. And if you haven't been constantly training at the level you need to be, then it's going to show. So
that's right.
Well, the thing is too, I think in any sport, you can probably coast through high school to college on talent alone.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you get to that pro league, you can't. And a lot of guys are so used to just relying on talent. I remember I played one professional golf tournament ever, and I was like, "Yeah, no, this isn't for me. I'm not that good." I finished dead last, actually.
You were there.
And
I've never played. Have y'all ever played in a professional golf tournament? I know I have.
And the guy who finished next to last, I actually played with. I was paired with him, and he was a longtime professional golfer that relied on talent alone, in my opinion. And this was in Greenville, Alabama. It was a tournament called Alabama Open, and sanctioned by the PGA. And he drove it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday night, Friday morning, I was like, "Man, you look tired." He's like, "Yeah, I drove last night. I left about 8 o'clock, and I drove to the casinos in Biloxi.
Yeah.
Gambled all night."
John Daly move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
And you just can't. And I feel like a lot of insurance agents, when they go from producer to agency owner or whatever that next level is, try to rely on talent alone, and they don't build processes around their agency. Hey, look, we're just going to sell a whole lot of insurance, and that's going to solve all our problems.
I was like that
and when
for a
you
long
start
time.
an agency, that solves your problems for about 1 year.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it starts creating more problems.
Sure.
And you have to build those processes around it.
I'll tell you the other thing I've noticed about people that played sports all the way through high school or college, or in Tamron's case, you don't see it very often, but the professional ranks. I think people who play team sports, you learn to get along with a lot of different personalities and a lot of people that are part of what when he was at Marshall, Tamron was part of a family. You know, they were together all the time. They played ball all the time. They were in the dorms or in their apartment together all the time. And you have to learn to get along. And I could say the same for probably even more so for the Marine Corps. But you're having to interact with and learn to live with a lot of different personalities and a lot of people, and I think that helps you as you get older and you get into the business world as you're hiring employees and you're dealing with people, because it's just it just gives you this ability to deal with lots of different types of personalities, different people. I think there's something to that a little bit. Now, it may not be much, but it's part of the ingredients.
Whether consciously or subconsciously.
Correct. Because I will say this. I have 2 friends that were at your level or better in golf. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've noticed about golfers, you guys are one click off center, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's that individual sport.
That was the hardest part. That was the hardest part for me to learn going to play college golf, because in college golf it's all about the team.
Correct.
You know, the team that, you know, each tournament they have a team winner and an individual winner. The team winner gets this big old trophy, and the individual gets a little bit. And I'm like, this is the guy that, like, really, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was a hard thing for me to learn the team, because the reason I flocked towards golf is because it was all on me. I like that part of it.
That's that individual sport.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying.
So, Tamron, we leave Dublin. We've played our career out. We played it to the bone. You're ready to come home, and you get with this staffing service. You find out about insurance. You go with an Allstate. Get into with the Allstate world. What made you decide to take this leap of faith? And I believe it was October of 2021, which was this time last year, and launch Integrity Insurance Group.
Honestly, it is. I don't know if this is gonna sound weird, but I just really love business. So I think my take on insurance could be a little different, but it could be the same. But I found insurance to be a business where you can help so many people and do so many different things for them, and you can also create whatever you really want to create. I feel like you can have all these different avenues for success in insurance. And as someone that kind of studies other businesses and studies other industries, I would say insurance is really unique in that point. I feel like you can be successful like Bradley and start a kind of a different type of insurance company. You can be like Ryan Hanley and start a whole different type of insurance thing. And there's so many, you can be captive and be successful. So that was what drew me to wanting to step out on my own and see what I could build, is just because I really love business. I really love the back end of the business stuff, the marketing type of stuff, the how to build processes and all that stuff. So I just really love business, and insurance is one of those businesses where you can help so many people and have a big impact on your small community, or you can have a big impact on a bigger pot of a community if you go to different states and stuff. So that was my biggest reason for wanting to branch out.
So many opportunities in insurance. So many.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so I related to a lot of what you just said. When I started selling insurance, I liked being a business professional.
Yes.
Do you feel like, so like I go back to, I'm a huge fan of Shaq. I love that he was in the stands with the fans at the LSU Alabama game.
Right.
Almost as much as the fact that Alabama lost. Sorry, Kim. So he talks about how he would go into business meetings and feel self-conscious that these other people were sharper than he was.
That's why he got his degree.
He went and got his degree, right? Do you feel like when you started in business, and I felt this too, not that I was some great athlete, I was average at best, but I was like, man, this is actually the big leagues.
Yeah.
I could play this game forever. These other guys who are still chasing this dream,
right?
They don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah,
they don't. I agree with that. I agree with that so much because, like, I mean, I equate business to sport. So it's the sport of business that we've just kind of transitioned to. So I still play a sport. I'm still super competitive. I still can do all the stuff that I did as an athlete. I'm just playing a different game now. I'm playing a game of
Mm-hmm.
business with, you're competing not necessarily so directly with people. You're mainly just competing with yourself and just trying to be
Uh-huh.
better than you were yesterday. I think as long as you can keep that mindset, it's just like, okay, I did XYZ yesterday to move the business forward. What can I do today to keep moving it forward and just trying to just keep staying ahead of stuff like that? So yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I
And
feel
beating that formidable opponent. My team will tell you here when they come to me with a new deal we have on the hook,
mhm.
first thing that I ask, who's the other agent?
Smart.
I want to know. I want to know who I'm beating.
Yeah.
I want to know who I'm going up against. You know what I mean? It's like a thing, you know.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean that competitiveness still can live in you in this business. So if I could do anything, man, I would really love to like talk to more people, um, more athletes, because I know there's so many people like me that like play the sport and the sport kind of just like uses them for like everything, and then they get done playing the sport and they're like, what the heck do
right.
I do now? Like, where can I go? Where's the avenue? So I would love to have like a team of former athletes, whatever sport it is, just former athletes, and just teach them like how to transition their
Mm-hmm.
competitiveness into this business. And it's almost just like, because you can't do anything wrong, because like you're helping people, and it's like you can help as many people as you can, and like then you start figuring out the nuances of like your ideal customer and all that stuff. But I think that just comes with time and learning the real part of the business. But as far as the competitiveness, man, it's a very seamless transition for people.
Tamron, we're 1 year and 1 month in, and I can remember when I was 1 year and 1 month in. But here's what I want to know: as we sit here today, what is this? November 7th.
I have no
November
idea.
7th.
Yeah,
Okay,
seven.
Yeah.
November
Yeah.
7th. Where tell me about your agency today. What I want to know. We've done this for a year and a month. What are we looking like today? Are you still there by yourself, swinging the bat every day, doing service and sales? Have you built a little bit of a team? Tell me where you are today.
Well, to date, I've kind of followed I guess I kind of followed my business plan pretty smoothly, but I wanted to go a full year, just me.
Mm,
I wanted to rock with personal lines heavy, and then take year two to kind of learn commercial and figure out commercial, and then dive into that more so year two and about quarter three, quarter four, year two. So yes, I'm by myself right now, looking to bring on a VA first to
okay.
kind of trim off some of the service work. And I know everybody does that part different, whether they want to do a VA or whether they want to do a
Local.
in-house person or whatever you call it. But I chose VA. I just feel like it was a little smoother, less expensive as well. So wanted to do a VA to kind of take some of the service work off of me. Planning on doing that January or just early 2023.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm about 95.5 personal lines commercial, and a lot of the commercial stuff has been just people knowing me and knowing who I am and wanting
sure.
to have their business insured with me, and current clients just happen to own a business and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now. Planning on rocking hard with the VA and seeing how far I can push it, and then start bringing in people and building a true team around what my foundation I built is.
The VA move is smart
It is.
because, and I made this mistake when I brought on my people. I mean, I didn't have any processes. We were just like,
Figuring it out.
here's your desk, here's your phone. Good luck, son. You're on your own.
Right.
You know.
Sink or swim.
Yeah, and the VA move is smart because when you bring a VA on, you've got to have those processes. Like it forces you to, because I mean they're literally in another country.
Right.
Like
And
you
they need you
can't
to-
just throw it up against the wall. If you do, they're going to be twiddling their thumbs.
Right.
So I think that's probably a smart move, because then you can really have your processes down. And then what I would probably do, let's say you bring a VA on for service, and then you bring an in-house service person, make that service person the VA's direct report, or the VA the direct report of that service person.
Okay.
That way, you're already
Chain of
building that
command.
corporate management structure early, Because and I fell into this trap too. I think what a lot of people do is they have a flat culture, and you've always done a really great job of this, of having agency managers and that sort of thing. When you have a flat culture, if you have 8 people that are reporting to the same person, it creates confusion for them and it creates stress for you, because you got 8 people who every day 3 of them are going to need something from you. Right. You know what I mean? So by creating that corporate structure a little earlier, it may seem silly, but it saves you a little bit of headache down the road when you're trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do?
Can I give you a piece of sage advice?
Of course.
2 things you're going to end up fighting over the years, okay? I've been doing this for 15 years now with moderate success. The first thing I'm going to say to you, Tamron, it is very challenging when you stay in this industry from the PNC side. Every man and woman that starts out where you are today all say that they want to help people. And that's fantastic. I did the same thing. Bradley, I'm sure, did the same thing. I want to help people. And I still to this day want to help people. And I try to help them to the best of my ability, and I go over and above and beyond to try. But you have to really fight. You have to really fight inside of yourself after years and years and years of doing this, not to become jaded towards your clients. Because there's about 3 times a week that I literally will pinch somebody's head off when they call me about something, or they're not appreciative of what we do for them, or whatever. So that's that. Okay, we're going to compartmentalize that for a second, okay? The other thing that you're going to have to fight after years and years and years of being in this business, and as your agency grows and you continue to add more staff, we've just hired 3 people in my agency.
You're hiring everybody in North Alabama.
Everybody in North Alabama. We've hired 3 people in the past three weeks. Now, granted, some of those people have a combined 35 years of experience in insurance and probably know more than I do, which is, key here is to hire great people. And when you reach the level we've reached, I've got to have people that are the best at what they do. And so I had to go out and unload a Brinks truck to bring them in, and that's fine. That's fine. We did that. But you have to also fight not becoming jaded towards your employees, because it is so easy. And I said this at the One City World Tour last year. The people that I have seen fail in this industry allowed themselves to get to a point to where it was me against the employees. All of my employees are out to get me. None of them appreciate what I do for them. You have to really fight to not let yourself get into that mindset, because the 3 or 4 people I've known that allowed themselves to get to this me versus them as far as employees go, all are not in the industry anymore. They're all out. So that's the second thing. Now here's the great news. Are you ready for the grand finale, the fireworks show?
For sure.
I don't care where you go or what you do in your lifetime. You will never be a part of anything that has better people, finer people, more caring people than the agents that listen to this podcast and the agents that make up the insurance industry that you're going to be friends with, who are standing by your side. You will never meet a better group of people than they are. And that's just the damn truth. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you play in the NFL. I don't care if you play in the NBA. I don't care if you work as an accountant. The people in this industry that stand beside you as agency owners are the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And I would put them up against anybody. I'll put them up against Tesla's employees. I'll put them up against Coca-Cola, whoever you want to talk about. They will help you. Anytime you need help, they will be there for you. You can pick up the phone and call them. And when you see them at industry events over the years, that friendship and that relationship will grow. And they are some of the finest human beings on this planet. The end. Full stop.
I agree with that. I'm new to the industry, and I agree with that. I've had so many guys and girls reach out to me with just pure intentions and just wanting to help.
Absolutely.
And it's been really nice. I had no idea it was like that coming from captive. I mean,
Right.
It's the
I think both of
opposite.
you have been captive. Yeah, it's quite the opposite. And then not all of them, but it's just a little different of a feel of how helpful people can be with nothing in return they need. Like Mitch Gibson,
Right.
somebody who's done so much for me that some things that it shocked me that he's took the time to even do
Correct.
to help me with. So I agree with
Mitch is one of the people I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he's one of about 1,000
Yeah.
that you could pick up the phone and call, and you'd go, "Holy shit, he answered the phone!" And if you ask for their help, they're going to help you any way they possibly can. And that is probably the one thing that keeps me in this industry is just how great the group of people are. Well, Bradley's going next week to Napa Valley with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 couples of insurance people. And it just shocks me all the time at how wonderful this group is, that a lot of them, most of them are listening to this podcast right now. And they are just fantastic people, and they're always there for you.
I'll tell you something too, man. When I was captive, one of the things that kept me there a few years longer than it should have was the community and the people and the relationships that I built. And I talked about this before. I had no idea the relationships on the other side of that.
Right.
Of like times 1,000. And I'm still friends with most of the people. You know, what you find when you leave when you leave a company, you get blamed for everything, even when the power goes out.
Sure, absolutely.
Everything's your fault, right? But what you find is the people that want to continue a relationship with you will take an effort to continue a relationship.
Right.
And the people who really don't, who it was just a relationship out of convenience, are the ones that are blaming the power going out on you.
Right.
And you find that out really fast. But you're correct. You're correct with the community. And according to, Hanley's a good buddy of mine, it hasn't always been that way. I think it's gotten better in the last 10 years.
I would agree.
Where people have more of an abundance mindset and are willing to have a conversation with folks.
And if we've been a small part of that, then I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Now, whether we have or not, I don't know. But
I'm thinking about, man, like the people that have declined coming on the show.
Reaching back out to them.
No, I'm thinking about like we've asked people to come on and share.
Yeah.
Aunt B's secret sauce.
Yeah.
I think I can think of 2 people that have declined. One was a non-compete.
Yeah.
The other was the head of the insurance department at one of the biggest companies in the world, and just said he didn't want to do that,
Right.
which I completely understand both. But Tamron, you're in the thick of this. I remember exactly where I was at 13 months in. We have a lot of listeners that are employees of agencies,
Correct,
or captive, and are thinking about starting their own agency. And that's one of the reasons they listen to the show. What would your advice be to them?
Great question.
That is a great question. My advice, honestly, man, would be to first, before you do what so many people have done and take that leap and go and start your own agency, whether that be captive or independent or however you want to do it, I would do some serious just thinking about like how you envision your agency being, what kind of agency you want to build. Because like Scott said earlier, you can't just jump in and sell a bunch of insurance and think, you know what, everything's going to be okay, because there's so many. Something that I didn't even take account for was how much my actual clients would need me. So I was thinking like, okay, I sell Bradley today. I won't hear from him until his renewal. He may need, 2 things every now and then, but other than that, I won't hear from him. But I get so many just like calls from my current clients that I didn't really expect to get. So there's just so many like twists and turns that you may run into that you'll need to figure out kind of going into it, that, hey, this could happen. There may be a week where I don't get to talk to anybody about selling insurance because I'm talking to the big client base that I have about their current policy. So there's just so many things you want to take into consideration before starting an agency. And I would honestly, and I know you all have talked about this before, but your own tolerance of risk, because you are going to go down a little bit on what you were earning potentially. Because if you worked for Allstate,
No,
they
not
could be
potentially. You're gonna do it. It's gonna happen.
you're going to go down because you're spending so much money. Because you could be making a lot, but you're spending a lot.
Yeah. Well, and
And
that's like my
that's
point,
the thing.
man. Like, if I think you really have to dive into why do I want to start this business?
Right.
Like, do some soul searching and figure out why you want to do this. Because if the reason is to make more money or sell more insurance, you can make more money and sell more insurance working for somebody else.
Yeah.
That
And
can't
it's
be the
easy.
reason you're doing it. I know I've said that before, but that's something I really believe in. So two more questions. What's the hardest thing that you dealt with, and what's the easiest?
Ooh, those are really good. I'll go with the hardest first. I always start with that. So I would say the hardest thing I've dealt with is building out the structure and trying to compete with myself on whether I want to have a good cash flow or scale quicker. So like that constant battle, because I mean, like everybody, I have a family, so I'm like, I need to make some money, need to have some cash flow, but I also want to scale so I can see down the road the cash flow being even bigger if we put more money into it earlier. So that's probably the hardest thing that you just kind of battle with yourself, like what makes more sense. And I read one of your tweets about the best way to like do this insurance thing and to own it is probably to take yourself out of the sales spot as quick as you can. But with the flip side to that is you're spending more than you might be able to at the beginning. So that's the double-edged sword. So that fight is probably the hardest thing that I'm having to deal with right now. Like what's important and what do I need to spend the money on? The easiest part, which is going to sound weird, but the easiest part for me is just showing up. I feel like that's just it's been super easy for
Do it
me
every
to
day.
just show up and just
Do it every
get
day.
in here and answer the phone, call people, network with people I need to network with. Because I feel like for some people that could be the hardest part, just because like you don't have anybody to make you come into the office besides kind of yourself. So for me, that's really the easiest part is just, hey, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna expect good things to happen, and I feel like good things have happened just because showing up. Somebody might have walked in and I sold them a big policy just because I was here. But if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have got that. So that's been the easiest part.
Do you know how hot my wife is? Do you know how hard it is every morning to me to get up and have to go? I've already got 67 freaking emails by 7 a.m. By 8 a.m., I've had 3 employees call me with a problem, and 4 clients have either emailed or texted me. Not to mention the 17 marketing managers that have sent out updates for State Auto, Travelers,
And the Louisiana Insurance Commissioner.
the freaking Louisiana Insurance Commissioner, who's like crazy ex-girlfriend that I'm gonna have to send a freaking restraining order out on. That son of a gun sends out an email about every 14 hours about the state of the union for Louisiana's insurance.
You know, my friends that are single will talk about having a dry phone. Like, man, my phone is real dry tonight. If you have an insurance license in Louisiana, your phone is never dry.
Never.
Louisiana
tell them to
Insurance
just get a
Commissioner, I swear, he emails sometimes and says, "Y'all up?
Yeah, y'all ready? I got some more bulletins I need to send you today.
Look, Louisiana needs to chill out. He is making sure everybody knows he is working.
A 1,000,000,000%. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Hey,
Oh my God.
Tamron.
Bring him on the show.
Oh, I'd
We should
love
have him on
that.
the show.
Just bust his
The
balls.
other day, he sent an email the other day to let everybody know he was going to London.
Yeah,
to
right.
meet the Lloyds.
Yeah. Hey, we should bring him on the show in like the first 5 minutes. Like tell him before, hey, we're gonna bust your balls for a minute, but it's okay. We're just kidding with you. Tamron, here's my question. You want to hear my question?
Go ahead.
What can Bradley and I help you with?
I was just gonna ask, do I get to ask one question, at least one question?
You get to ask all the questions you want.
Man,
Fire away.
honestly, there's so much, but I think I want to kind of help people in my position, either whether they're just starting or they're like 2 years in or whatever. I would love to ask both of you if you can go back to starting your agency, which I know, Bradley, you started yours a little sooner than Scott did. So, Scott, you have to go back a little farther.
Right.
But can you go back and just kind of give advice on how you all got over that hump? Because I feel like in the beginning, there's like there's a hump you have to get over, whether it's like I said, either the scale versus the cash flow problem, or just how are we going to even get new business? Like, where do we go from here? So how did you all get over that first little hump that you hit?
You want to go first?
Yes.
Or me too?
Okay. So I have a wonderful wife that was willing to pay the bills for 24 months, so that I could hire people day one. And the answer is hiring people, but I had to say that first part because I was in a situation that allowed me to do that. A lot of people aren't, and I'm empathetic to that and recognize that I'm lucky in that respect. But hiring people to do the things that I didn't want to do, combined with taking myself out of production as fast as possible, would be that's it. The mistakes I made, I told you in the beginning, the process and the corporate structure.
Well, how did you, with yourself, removing yourself as quick as you could, but you being, which is exactly where I'm at kind of now. So like when you remove yourself and you're also still kind of the face of Portal, kind of just because, I mean, just naturally, how do you get around the fact that, oh no, I don't want to speak to Tommy, I want to speak to Bradley? Like, how do you get around that?
Couple ways. The first thing you have to do when you remove yourself from the selling process to have your team do it, you know that feeling you get? What CRM are you on?
Agency Zoom.
Okay, you know that feeling you get when you pull the client to sold and the confetti goes off?
Oop, yeah.
And that dopamine hit you get?
Right.
You have to remove yourself from that. You have to get over that.
Right.
I've talked to several agents about this,
Correct.
and they're like, I still sell. And I know I don't need to sell, but the reason I sell is because I like moving that policy to sold. Everybody in the office gets emailed and the confetti goes off. You have to get over that. And what you have to do is you have to trick your brain to feel that when somebody else sells it.
Correct.
That's the first thing. But honestly, have you ever called my cell phone?
Mm-mm.
When you call my cell phone, it says, if you're calling to buy insurance, I have 8 people back at my office at 251-264.
It's the longest. It's the Guinness Book of World Records longest voicemail I've ever heard in my entire
We should
life.
play some of the voicemails.
Did you hear my voicemail to that voicemail?
I did. So
I told him I was Mr. McKenzie with the Guinness Book of World Records. Congratulations, you have officially won longest voicemail in the history of the world.
It basically says, I've got an idea we're going to do. It's going to be hilarious. But it basically says, I've got 8 people back at my office that are all experts in selling insurance, and they're way better than I am at it. If you need to buy insurance, they're the ones you need to talk to. That's kind of an indication of how we did it. Basically, if somebody called and demanded to talk to me, I'll take that call. Hey, look, Jeffrey's handling this for you. He's the best in the world at car insurance. I'm going to pass this off to him, but if you have any questions. And then every now and then we don't. This doesn't happen anymore. We would have somebody that just really demanded I do it. I would take the info. I'd pass it to the producer. It'd come back to me. I'd say, okay, this is how much it is. Okay, I want to buy it. Pass it back to the producer. You just have to deal with those things. But pretty simple. Pretty simple. But my voicemail. Can I go into this real quick?
Please.
So, because I had planned on doing this anyway, and I forgot. So my voicemail. So I took 2 months off when Luke was born, and I had a family member call me, a family member that we insured reached Laurel's family, reached out to Laurel and basically said, I called Bradley's office and nobody answered the phone. It went to voicemail. That was my Yoda.
About right.
And so immediately.
Remember what I said about how easy it is to get jaded towards clients?
Yeah, exactly.
Lump this into that.
And I immediately went into recon mode, right? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. They called me at 2:30 in the afternoon. I go into like looking at Lightspeed Voice and like trying to figure out. They called my cell phone. Like, you did not follow instructions. Like, you called my cell phone. So I basically did this voicemail. I'm not going to play the voicemail, but I have this voicemail that it's long because I'm basically saying, hey, if you want this, go here. If you want this, go here. If you need this, go here. It's basically, it's a little dickish, but it's basically, I was pissed off when I did it, and it's like, hey, go here, go here, go here. It actually says at one point, Tamron, if you want to buy insurance, buying it from me and demanding that I do it is the worst possible way to buy it from Portal, which is 100% true. I'm going to screw it up every single time. Bear Bryant said he needed his assistants to be better at that position than he was, because if they weren't, he did not need them. Same exact thing at Portal. Everybody that I have is better at something than I am. Anyway, so I did this voicemail. So I get a lot of hilarious response. I have a ton of and basically it says, hey, look, if you listen to all that and you still need to talk to me, please leave a voicemail. I will call you back, basically. So this is one from the other day. Hang on.
With the Guinness Book of World Records, I'm calling you today because
this is Scott.
We had been contacted by someone in the Mobile County area that notified us that this Mr. Bradley Flowers had the longest voicemail in recorded history. And so we called up today, and I'll be damn if they're not correct.
Sorry, Scott. I completely got off track.
Tamron, before we get off this call today, off this podcast, I feel like I need to answer your question.
Yes.
So I will say this to piggyback off what Bradley said. For me, it has always been a feeling that I had in my gut from the very beginning. And on episode 2 of the Insurance Guys podcast, Bradley and I talked about starting your own independent agency, or insurance agency. And I said this: when I was at $500,000 in annualized premium, $500,000, I started getting the feeling, I was by myself, just like you are. I started getting the feeling that I was spending an enormous amount of time servicing the clients that I already had sold by myself. And I knew that in order for me to get to the next, because this is like the game Candyland, right? You're trying to get from the starting line, and over the years, over a 25, 30-year career, you're trying to get all the way up to the finish line. And when I got to that $500,000 point, which in my opinion is about 4 or 5 steps into the game Candyland, I looked at myself and I thought to myself, there is no way I can get to $1 million in premium by myself. It's an impossibility. Now, let me move forward for you, okay? Bradley and I had this conversation at lunch. There are a lot of agents listening to this. I just had that same feeling again about a month ago. And I realized that in order for me to get to $12 million in premium, which is about where we are today, that I needed to hire the best possible people I could hire in this industry to take our agency to that next level. And that's why I have gone on this, and my beautiful wife is sitting here today, and that's another puzzle piece, is the support and love that she's given me to allow me to have some freedom to think about this for long periods of time. But I know that in order for us to get to that next plateau, which to me is $20 million in premium, I had to bring in the best possible people I could bring in, and I no longer could hire inexperienced people. They had to be people that had been doing this a long time and had a track record of success. So that was a feeling that I got again about 3 months ago. I had this feeling that, okay, we're at 12 million today. How are we going to get to 20 million? Well, it ain't staying where we are today. It's kind of like you and Bradley said when you start an independent agency, you have to go backwards to go forwards. So next year I won't be able to make as much money, but in 3 years when we're at $20 million in premium, well, you do the math there and figure out where I'll be then. So, and I guess the one piece of the puzzle that's different for me than it is for Bradley, I have never removed myself. I have removed myself from the day-to-day sales.
You don't get in the weeds.
I don't get on PL rating and quote insurance and go to AmWinds, RPS, RT Specialty and do Accord forms. I don't do that. I'm not in that. But where I've never removed myself, and I think I owe this to both my agency force and my clients, is I've never removed myself from the day-to-day. Client's pissed off, claim didn't go well. I've always said that's the time that we as agency owners need to shine, because the only freaking reason anybody ever buys an insurance policy is when a claim occurs. And so I give my agency force the third base sign to say, Scott, I got to get you out of the bullpen right now to handle this. I can't handle this. This is too much for me to handle. And so that's where I've never removed myself from the process, is the operational side of the accountability. You know, Billy Williams, our friend in Great American, says this: an agency owner should focus on 3 things and 3 things only. I'm going to add a 4th thing to this. He says, number 1, hiring the very best people possible. Number 2, training your staff and policies, procedures, how to do things correctly. And then the third and last leg of that for him is accountability. I add 4 in there because the 4th leg of that to me is being there for your clients when a claim doesn't get paid. They're mad, they're upset, and they want somebody that has some firepower behind them to be able to do what I can do in those particular situations, which is whether it's help them hire an attorney to fight the claim, or go out and get in touch with the director of all adjusting for travelers insurance. But I feel like I owe that to them to do that. So I guess if you're asking me, how I handled things, it's always kind of been a little bit of a gut feeling on my part when I felt like we were ready to take that next step.
Knowing the pulse, feeling the pulse.
Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about. You get to this point where you're like, God, we got to have another VA.
We're kind of there too. I feel like a lot of agency owners get to that 10-ish million, and it's really easy to plateau and just kind of rest on your laurels.
You're making pretty good money.
Yeah, but I commend you for doubling down and saying no. We're gonna push and
all the chips are in the center. Yeah. All the chips are in the center of the table right now. We'll see how it goes. But one thing Mike Stromso taught me too, Tamron, that I want to pass along to you. When you hire somebody, I just hired a 16-year veteran commercial account manager / marketing manager. Now, she's done it all, seen it all, been through it all. She has all the relationships with underwriters and people like that. She knows more about insurance than I do. I paid her $70,000 a year with an $8,000 sign-on bonus. So November the 10th, which I think is Thursday, direct deposited in her account will be $8,000.
How mad were they to lose her?
And she came from the biggest, baddest firm that we have in Huntsville, Alabama. She was the principal agent's right-hand woman. I don't look at it the way everybody.
Yet?
Oh yeah.
How'd that go?
We've already done press releases and all kinds of stuff. That's a done deal. I'm gonna say this to you though, Tamron. Something Mike Stromso taught me that I want everybody in this listening to this to learn. I don't look at that as a $78,000 transaction. Okay. Because here's the thing. The only person that can fire her is her. But if she gets in here with us and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I'm going to know that between 90 days and 180 days. So worst possible case scenario for me is I've just paid somebody for 4 or 5 months, and then we're going to quickly decide this isn't the right fit for both of us. So I'm not on the hook for $78,000. Right. Conversely to that, knowing what I know that she knows, this could very easily turn into a transaction where she does pay for herself. Mm-hmm. And I won't go into detail on that.
If you end up paying the whole 78, it's because it benefited.
Because it was way worth $78,000, probably worth 10 times $78,000.
I have a quick question before we go.
Tamron, does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
If you hire somebody and let's say you step out there and you say I'm gonna pay you $50,000 a year, hell I don't have $50,000, But you do have renewals starting to come in this month from last year. Remember, that's year and a month means he's got renewals.
For me, the 13th month was circled on the calendar. I knew exactly when everything was going to start hitting.
But that doesn't mean you're on the hook for $58,000 if they just come in and completely shit the bed and y'all have to part ways after 3 months. Maybe it only cost you $10,000.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to have that conversation if it's not working out too.
You can't let them.
That's where a lot of people screw up.
But more money, the quicker that conversation's happening.
Yeah.
Because you start paying somebody closing in on $100,000 a year. You don't mind having that conversation faster.
I got a question for you. We got to wrap up here in a second. You can kind of tell when somebody's not going to work out.
Sure can.
What's the quickest?
Brandon.
Brandon's working out great.
No, I'm teasing you. I love giving Brandon a hard time.
I have an answer I have my answer to this, but I want to hear yours.
Okay.
What's the quickest you've ever been able to tell that somebody wasn't going to work out?
On this week's episode of the Insurance Guys podcast, this week meaning today's November the 7th, the one that drops this week. Last week, the wheels on the plane landed in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, when the wheels landed, everybody...
You told Clint it was time to part ways. I'm kidding.
When the wheels land on the tarmac, what's the first thing everybody does? They turn their phone back on, and their phones start working, right?
I was going to say clap, but...
But you know how everybody's phone starts bling, 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 bling?
Yeah.
The wheels on that plane landed in Phoenix, Arizona, and Clint was sitting on the window seat behind me, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, "She just quit." And that girl had been with us for about 3 months, and when I got on the plane, I was the very last person on the plane in Huntsville, Alabama, because I was chewing her ass for about 10 minutes that morning. And so... we had gotten together with my management group in the Delta Lounge in Atlanta and had voted for me to fire her the next morning. Now this was a 3 month. She'd been with us 3 months.
3 months.
And when those damn wheels hit the ground in Phoenix, Arizona, and that phone came back on, she had resigned.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, 3 months was about. But you're going to know one way or another.
Yeah.
More than likely in your heart.
Yeah.
At about the 3 month mark.
That's really what I'm talking about.
And I tell my beautiful wife this all the time. Guys, if you got kids out there that are dating, it takes about any guy in the world. If I die in a fiery plane crash tomorrow, this is what I told my wife. I said, you're going to start dating at some point, and you're going to want to date different people. Any guy in the world can fake the funk for 90 days. They will do shit for you. They will act a certain way, take you to dinner, open the door. Of course, we all know what they're trying to get after, right? But at about 90 days,
what do?
They'll start showing some red flags.
What you're saying?
What I'm saying
you gotta
is,
let your freak flag fly.
You got to let your freak flag, and that's one thing she and I both agreed on when we started dating was let's just be ourselves from the beginning, and then we don't have to later on go, well, wait a minute, why are you didn't do that before we got married? Why are you doing that now?
Wait a minute. So you were fully Scott Howell from the beginning.
She's sitting right over there.
Bradley's looking at
God bless you. You knew it was meant to be, didn't you? Lord have mercy.
It's a lot, but yeah.
It's I don't mean that to offend you. It's a lot.
It is, but I don't.
You were something else.
I don't have.
But she probably fell in love with your humor and you know.
Well, and I don't.
Well, your all's marriage has lasted long, Bradley. Your all's.
Do what now? Oh, our marriage, yeah.
Yeah, you and Scott has lasted long too. So.
Well, even the first time you and I hung out, you were a little more buttoned up than the second time.
Oh, okay.
Was I?
He wasn't himself.
The second time you come up with the Evil Knievel shirt on, I'm like smoking a cigarette out in the parking lot. Who the heck is this guy?
Well, I think though I have I am a little more buttoned up off the podcast because of the energy level and the WWE thing, but I'm not as like I am. But now sometimes if you catch me in the right moment,
turn it on, turn it.
So
mine was one day.
One day.
Well, actually 1 hour.
Right.
So I had somebody start that's no longer with us that get to the office, hey, welcome aboard, handshake, give me just a minute to make a cup of coffee, and I'll meet with you in my office.
This is you talking to them.
Yeah, give me a couple minutes. I'll meet with you in my office.
Sure.
And walks in, and as he is walking in the door, cracks a joke, an inappropriate joke.
Oh boy.
About another employee.
Oh boy.
And I'm in my head, I said, "Yeah, this ain't gonna work out."
Yeah.
Because if you're willing to do that,
Right.
you know what I mean. And I will, against my better judgment, did not fire him that day, that minute. I probably would have done that now.
Sure.
Not for that reason, more just, hey, look, I just really
I can
don't
just
think
tell
this
this
is
isn't gonna work.
Yeah. Lasted about 3 months.
I have seen an agency owner who I consider a friend, and he's a pretty good insurance agent, keep an employee for 4 years that should have been fired the first 3 months they were on staff.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is just not having the courage to walk in and go,
100%.
you don't belong here, and we're going a different way, and not wanting to go out into the big bad world and have to hire more people, because it's hard to hire great people.
What you have to remember too is if you are doing that, you are not doing them any favors.
Right.
You're actually doing them a favor by saying, "Hey, we need to cut ties."
Release them in the wild.
That's going to make them introspect and say, "What did I do wrong?"
Hopefully,
versus making them think I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Hopefully,
it's like Dave Ramsey says: "To be unclear is to be unkind."
Right.
Hey, look, just letting you know.
And let me say this: I just hired I hope 3 great people to represent our agency for different roles and clearly defined roles. My own wife, who is sitting 7 feet away from me right now, does not know the lengths that I went to recruit these people to our agency, and the hours and hours spent on phone calls and in-home recruiting visits. It was an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege to take them from, in some case, 2 of them had been at an agency for 16 years. 16 years is a long freaking time.
And in a few weeks, we're going to break down exactly what you did on a future episode. So
right.
Subscribe on YouTube if you want to see that.
Tamron, thank you so much for being a part of our world and a part of our family. Now, tomorrow, this episode won't come out for a while, but tomorrow, Bradley and I are going to record 4 episodes of the Insurance Guys podcast. On one of those episodes, Bradley Flowers is going to give me the green light, thumbs up, or red light, thumbs down, on whether I am going to sue the Florida Department of Financial Services Division of Consumer Services. So stay tuned for that. I have my lawyers.
Them and the DOI commissioner from Louisiana.
I have my lawyers on standby waiting to file the lawsuit. And Bradley Flowers is going to hear that story and give me the green light, hopefully, to fire down on a lawsuit. Tamron, if there is anything you need, please pick up the phone and call me or call Bradley or email us or whatever you need. Let us know, okay?
Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate this.
I cannot wait. Bradley, can you put a calendar reminder to have him back on this time next year?
Absolutely.
I want to hear. I think his life is going to change dramatically this year. And
I agree.
I bet you this time next year.
He may be too big for us this time next year.
No, he ain't gonna be too big for us. Hey, I'm gonna get. Let me guess. This time next year, be 2 full years, over $1 million in premium, and 2 employees, maybe 2.5, 2 in a part time.
We'll see.
Oh, I'd love that.
I would too. Guys, you were listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. We love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family. And as I say and end every episode, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world. The number one thing that Tamron has got to do above anything else in his life right now is go out into that big bad world and build relationships, become the mayor of his village, of his town that he lives in, sling business cards, and make sure that every single person in a 30-mile radius of that office that he is sitting in right now knows the next time they need insurance. You know what? I know a guy that I met last week that sells insurance named Tamron. He gave me a business card. That is his number one goal right now, is to build relationships and let every single human being know that he is the insurance guy in his community. I wish you luck. I love you. And if there's anything I can do to help, reach out, okay?
Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, Bradley Flowers. I love you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Tamron.
We'll see you guys real soon on the Insurance Guys podcast. Take care.